A couple of guys asked me to respond to the online Essence magazine article called "Why Is It So Hard for Black Women to Find the Love They Deserve?" And the secondary title, or whatever you want to call it, says, "We asked two black women helping other sisters find love, what's really going on with the dating scene." I'm not going to read the whole article, that's something you can do for yourself, but I will go through and pull out some major points and talk about those. Alright, so first they say that black women complain that men don't usually court you anymore and technology prohibits good old-fashioned conversation. Men are very quick to text these women or use social media instead of just picking up the phone. I'm fine with that. When you're first making contact with somebody, whether it's through a website or through a matchmaker, you don't want to invest a whole lot of time in any one person because you don't know who's going to work out and who doesn't. Now, once we go on a date and I see if there's something there, then we can start having phone conversations and we can really start investing time with each other. But when you're on the phone with somebody, the conversation might lag, or the other person's repeating themselves, or you have to force yourself to come up with things to say. Whereas when you're texting, if you have something to say, you text the person and they text back. You don't have to waste each other's time. Even after I have gotten to know someone, I'm just not somebody who likes to spend a lot of time talking on a phone. So I'm perfectly fine with a guy who wants to text. Okay, next thing. It says, they also feel that it's hard to meet men on their level who feel they are still down to earth. We've both discovered that they typically feel that when they meet affluent men of color, they appear to be above them. Well, I've talked about this myself. A lot of black guys who have their ish together do seem to have this attitude about them. They go out of their way to make you not feel special, in the sense that they let you know that you're one of many and they'll take you down off the shelf and play with you for a little while, and then they're going to put you back and get another woman and do the same thing. And one thing I think you guys miss is that a lot of black women like me do spend a lot of their time and a lot of their youth trying to get guys like that to wife us up. And we don't necessarily have children by them, although some of us do. Like, I think Crystalline Karazin said that her first daughter's father was a man like this. He had a lot of options, he wasn't ready to settle down, and he just so happened to get someone pregnant when he wasn't ready to be a father. Or a husband, rather. So anyway, a lot of black women do start out looking for guys who aren't thugs, but these guys just won't be had. So then when the woman starts getting in her 30s and she's 32 and 33 and that biological clock is ticking down, then she circles back and starts looking for those guys that she wasn't initially interested in, because they want a family and that biological clock is running out. I'm working on a video to address this, but you guys want to act like it's always thugs that's taking women. Men who have their stuff together, they can play around. They know a lot of women want them, and they don't have to commit to any one woman to get what they want. Eventually, most of these successful black men do settle down, and the women that they don't pick have to go somewhere. Alright, continuing with the article, it says, yes, those men have so many choices that they're not paying much attention to trying to settle down. And then, if you want to go and meet a regular, everyday, hardworking man, for some reason, these women feel those men are inferior to them. So no matter what, they feel like they're in a really tough place. The old, why don't you get a bus driver argument. Me personally, I don't care if you got a degree or don't have a degree. What I care about is financial stability. And that means financially stable even after we add other mouths to feed. I know in a lot of cities, bus drivers are employees of the state, and employees of the state have very good benefits, so, that might be something you want to look at. But anyway, you guys can sit there all day and say that educated black women should look at blue-collar brothers, but it really is, or it really can be, a compatibility issue. A guy who's a mechanic might be a whiz at fixing machines. But you don't have to go to school for that. That might have been something that he just watched his father do and he learned from his father. So he might not be able to hang with an educated woman on an intellectual level. People who work with their hands, and for lack of a better word, people who work with their minds, a lot of times have two different mindsets, and sometimes those two things don't mesh. But besides that, I think it's fair for you to ask a potential mate to have certain qualities if you have those qualities yourself. So if you have a college degree, I don't think it's out of line to ask for a man who has a college degree. If that's what you want and you can offer the same thing, why not? I think it's hypocritical for black men to want black women to bend their standards, but they won't bend theirs. All right, next area. We found that as opposed to the white clients we've had, black women are usually looking for physical attributes first. We look for someone who is attractive to us, and then we pick up on his hobbies, interests, and values, whereas white clients are looking for the reverse first. What kind of job does he have? Is he going to be able to provide? Then they circle back. Okay, like I said in my comment section, it doesn't say that black women are only looking for attractive men. They said that's where they start. I don't see anything wrong with starting with looks, as long as that's not the only thing that you require. Men start with looks, and just because you get a good-looking woman doesn't mean she's a good woman. But anyway, I don't see any problem with that. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. And the article doesn't say that black women look for looks first, and then they stop just at that. Continuing on, we're the first ones to look at men's bodies and how attractive they are, whereas our white clients have a long list of requirements of things like character and integrity. Alright, this sounds like a good point, but it's really stupid. Character and integrity is not something you can put on a list for somebody to check off. Of course every man's going to say he has character and integrity. That's not something you can choose for through a matchmaker or a dating site. That's something you have to determine once you get to know a person, once you start going on a date with them, see how they act. Every man is going to put his best foot forward to a matchmaker. If he's a selfish a-hole, he's not going to say that to the matchmaker. I mean, that's really like saying, I want a man who's not going to beat me. A man who beats is not going to admit that he beats. You're going to find that out once you start dating him. All right, then it says, and then down the line it backfires for us because you were never a compatible mix to start with. Okay, now the article's starting to contradict itself because earlier they said that black women look for looks first and then they look for other things. Now it's saying that they only look for looks? I mean, which is it? All right, moving on, it says, we have clients that have a long laundry list of requirements, 6'4", with a PhD, never been married, no children, in his late 30s or early 40s. And a lot of times we ask them, well, what are you bringing to the table? And the answer is nowhere near all that. All right, first of all, a woman doesn't have to have everything equal to the man. We don't even have to have anything close to that because men have shown that they will marry beautiful women even if they have next to nothing. But I'm assuming that since these women had to go to a matchmaker, they are not these beautiful women. But still, a woman does not have to have everything equal with a man. In fact, if he's going to be the head of the relationship, it's probably better that he has more. One thing that throws off a man leading in a relationship is when the man and the woman are both pulling in equal income. If the woman's pulling in 50% of the income, it kind of seems unfair to hand the control over to the man. That's why I always go for guys who have more than what I have. But anyway, let's get back to the laundry list. 6'4". I don't know if the person giving the interview is just giving an example of an unreasonable requirement or if women are actually asking for men who are 6'4". But just so you know, the average man is 5'10". So if you're asking for a guy who's 6'4", you're kind of pricing yourself out of the market. That also goes for requiring a man to have a PhD, even if you have one. Very few men have PhDs, and that goes even more so for black men. So if you require a PhD, just know that you might be pricing yourself out of the market. If you have a PhD, you might have to let a guy with a bachelor's degree suffice, or maybe a master's degree. I'm not so sure a blue-collar brother would work out for you because the education gap is just so wide. But that's kind of something you have to decide for yourself. Next two, never married, no children. Well, if you can offer the same thing, that's fair. Last one, late 30s, early 40s. I don't see anything wrong with that. Alright, that's basically the end of the article. The rest of it is just the women talking about what they offer for their matchmaking services. Stay tuned for the next video where I will answer some of the points brought up by one of the guys who asked me to respond to the Essence article.